Is this thing on? Letter to a middle-aged cyclist. Buy new wheels now. Introduction. So I'm not much of a consumer, but recently a friend bullied me into buying some new wheels for my road bike. And based on the outcome of that, and with the zeal of a convert, I immediately set about exhorting another friend to buy the same wheels. So I wrote him this nice letter, and then seeing an opportunity to embellish that a little bit and expand on my influence and beneficence here, I hereby entreat all middle-aged road cyclists to go out and buy new wheels too. So here are my top 5 reasons and a handy Q&A at the end. Non-interactive Q&A, I should mention. All right, so reason number 1, you're not getting any younger. So right off the bat, I just want to tell you, these are some pretty badass looking wheels. Check those bad boys out. The Dura AC 40s come with these nice wheel bags here. And how do I work this phone? It's been a while. Here they are on my bike. Pretty freaking cool looking. You get the logos on there. Oh, thank you. Cheers. Now, if you were 70 years old, would I be recommending these wheels to you? Of course not. You'd be an old geezer by then. Unlikely to get much use out of them. So when my dad was like 70, he had this random shoulder injury that he suspected was permanent. And he decided that he could no longer ride a regular bike. He said, if I crash from a regular bicycle, my shoulder is done. So he decided he needed a recumbent. So unfortunately, he was too old a dog to master the recumbent. So after not riding that for a couple years, he splurged for a recumbent tricycle. And didn't need to balance anymore, but the supine riding position put all this strain on his neck, and that hurt too badly, so he didn't ride that either. And I feel like I could have predicted that. But the awkwardness of the recumbent is not just a physical problem, it's also aesthetically awkward. Nobody should ride a recumbent any more than any tortoise should be flipped up over on its back and laughed at. But fortunately, after giving up the trike, my dad came to his senses and decided to buy a regular bicycle again. Somehow the shoulder was no longer an issue, so he went out and bought a nice Fuji hybrid bike. But, he never rode that either because he'd had a hip replaced and he couldn't swing his leg over the bike anymore to climb on. So he asked me what I thought about him getting a women's model instead with no top tube. So my instant reaction was, are you crazy? Like, what's next? You're going to start drinking rosé? It's time to man up, dude, and do some physical therapy and get back on your proper men's bicycle. But I didn't say any of this. I mean, by the time you're asking someone if it's a good idea to ride a women's bike, it's too late for that guy, right? So I was cool about it. I'm like, dude, sounds like a great plan. And in fact, I'll bet Performance would let you trade in that Fuji you bought there for a women's version for no extra charge. I mean, you haven't even ridden it. And this is a gamble, of course. I mean, like, A, is he going to take my advice? And B, whose demise was approaching faster, his or Performance's? In the end, it was a dead heat. So I hope I've made it clear that we need to put off the geezer years for as long as possible. Oh, thank you. And this is my little pal for a while here. So and hang on to our youthful stuff with all our might. And in this battle, aesthetics are important. So if you're over 50, you're heading towards the years when you wouldn't really carry off those badass new wheels very well. And similarly, there's something kind of sad about like a 65-year-old in a distressed looking leather jacket And that's where we're headed. I mean, at some point, that jacket is just no longer appropriate. You should be trading it in on a cardigan sweater because who the hell are we kidding, right? As Anthony Bourdain once said, there's nothing cool about used to be cool. So, another little visual aid here. This is the fairly cool leather jacket that I hope I haven't aged out of. This is a picture from a while back when my brother Max there and I were younger and cooler, although not really exactly young or cool, but, you know, more so, I think. So can I still wear that jacket? Yeah, maybe, but not forever. So don't get me started on all the super cool sports cars that you see in the Bay Area here. There's Porsches and McLarens, Audi R8S or whatever the hell it's called, even your occasional Lambo, that inevitably have some 60-plus douche behind the wheel, driving responsibly, of course. So when I see this grotesque pairing of this speed-obsessed engineering and delusional, over-moneyed existential Viagra, I start to fantasize about the guy's irresponsible 18-year-old grandson stealing the car and taking it for a joyride, maybe even leading the cops in a, you know, adrenaline-fueled high-speed pursuit. But at least bikes provide a healthy outlet for our midlife crisis yayas, so we should be using all the high-end kick-ass gear while we still can. I mean, if we can still put the hurt on younger riders and make our racing bikes go jolly fast, then, you know, maybe we're not too old to still deserve, you know, those really awesome machines yet. So you need to snap up and enjoy these wheels while you still have the metal, the minerals, the sound, and the fury to put them to good use. Seize the day. Reason number 2, the price is right. So I hear anecdotally that everything's cheaper right now with the COVID-19 shelter in place and the low price of oil. New cars apparently are still being churned out and shipped over here, but there's no place to put them because the dealers aren't even putting a dent in their current inventory. So they're all still stranded out on these ships. So it's kind of a consumer's market right now, I think. So, you know, recently I broke my 3rd spoke in a row, 2nd spoke in 2 rides on my existing wheels, and I was complaining to my buddy Pete about it. And so he immediately urged me to buy new wheels, and he even sent me a link to where the wheels he recommended were on sale for $350 off. And within a few minutes, I found the same wheels at another place on closeout for $600 off. Damn! So there's also the price of not buying those wheels. So look, your gear is going to wear out at some point, and you know, why wait until it wears out and then pay what the market will bear? Like maybe the economy is improved by then. And you know, at the same time, why run the risk of finding out the hard way that your rims or hubs are about to fail catastrophically, like my crank arm did back in 2011? There's a nice blog post about that if you want to, you know, read something thrilling and kind of scary. So my new wheels cost analysis also included all the crap I'd have to put up with from my friend Pete if I'd stuck to my normal penny pinching ways. So he wrote, and I quote, "Do it, do it, do it, do it. Don't be scared." So I hemmed and hawed, and he pointed out, it's not like you're going to go on some expensive vacation anytime soon. So I stupidly gave up some ground and acknowledged this point, and then he comes back like, "Dude, you're practically making money on the deal." So, and that's not a bad argument, but, you know, that "don't be scared" is what really got me. Because, you know, did you kind of catch how he's sort of subtly impugning my confidence there? Like I'm too scared to throw a little money around. So I went silent for a bit, and then he texted me, and he's like, "I assume your silence means you bought them." So yeah, this dude basically rim-shamed me into the purchase. And I hope I'm doing the same with you. And if not, just keep listening because I'm not done yet. So reason number 3 to buy new wheels is that aero wheels actually will make you go faster. So these modern aero wheels are truly aerodynamic. I'm not talking about like the super deep dish time trial wheels, which is kind of frankly overkill. I'm not talking about disc wheels, but I will say that these wheels that are a little more aggressive than what you might have on your bike are the real deal. So in my case, I've been rocking the Het Ardennes SLs, which claim to be aerodynamic, but they're not very deep, and they're frankly not very good. That's kind of a whole other story. But talking about something at least like 35 millimeters deep from the edge of the rim where the sideball begins to where the spokes go in. And these wheels need to have a relative paucity of spokes. I mean, like, I'm not talking 16 front and rear like those original Shimanos I swore off of. But, you know, they should have like, I think mine have like 16 in the front, 21 in the rear, the Nidura Ace ones. You don't want like the 28 or 32 3-cross build. I know that's coming back, kind of a hipster affectation, but they're just slow. You want bladed spokes, needless to say. I got this replacement head wheel like late last year because I had a defective hub on my other ones, and it doesn't have bladed spokes. And I'm like, what the hell did these guys forget? I mean, what's next? Toothpaste without fluoride or leaded gasoline, CRT televisions, dial-up internet? Now, the bicycle industry has a long history of BS where aerodynamics are concerned. I mean, it's really it's appalling, especially like the early 80s. Some of the crap we had to deal with. I remember this. There's a Campagnolo Aero water bottle. This was ridden to famous victories by nobody ever. This is even worse. Look at this thing. This is the Miata Aero water bottle. Look at that travesty of engineering. Ugh. It's just horrible. I mean, I don't think anyone would use these, even if they did confer a real advantage. And then we have these sort of top of the down tube mounted aero shifters. Look at that internal cabling. Like, that's a royal pain in the ass. Do you think that that really leads to any real benefit? No, I don't think so. I mean, it got so bad that it was to the point where it was like the bicycle industry seemed to think, hey, if we would just make something really ugly, it's bound to be aerodynamic, sort of the castor oil thing. Like, right, it tastes terrible, it must work. Look at that front derailleur. It's appalling. So I've kind of had my BS detector turned up to 11 on aerodynamic stuff, honestly. I mean, disc wheels, tri-spokes, yeah, I get it. Those are aero. But, you know, a deeper rim, I wasn't sure. But when I was pondering my last new wheel purchase in 2014, which you can read all about on albertnet, I incredulously emailed my teammate Sean, who's like a legit bike maven, and I wrote him, you know, it's crazy. The more expensive Dura Ace wheels are actually heavier. Like, I know they're more aero, but is it really worth it? The order of the whole universe just seems all out of whack all of a sudden. And Sean wrote me back and he said, yes, that is correct. I too have trouble accepting the idea that heavier wheels can be faster, but apparently the aerodynamics more than make up for the weight gain unless you are doing major climbing. So, is he right? In a word, yes. There really is a big difference with these Dura Ace C40s. This is a 35 millimeter deep rim in the clincher version. The disc brake version is actually 40 millimeters. I mean, the difference is not subtle. So there's a descent I go down on Wildcat Canyon Road on my regular ride. And I try to get up as much speed as possible to make it over the next rise. With my old wheels, if I pedaled pretty hard, I could get into like the low 30s, 31, 32 miles an hour maybe. And with these wheels, with no extra perceived effort, I'm hitting like 37 miles an hour. And I dug deep a little bit yesterday, and I got almost 40 miles an hour just on this little 5% grade. And going down South Park Drive, that's a real steep one. Without pedaling, I could just feel the bike picking up speed like it never has before, as if gravity itself were stronger. Which, in a sense, the effect of gravity is, because it's impeded less by wind drag, obviously. So descending with these wheels is like the difference between paddling your little canoe out on the lake versus feeling like a giant wave pick up your surf kayak and just hurl you toward the beach. Now, I know what you're thinking. Your decisions these days are data-driven. You're not, willing to let these mealy-mouthed feel-good arguments cloud your AI-like judgment. So, here are the cold, hard facts about my first 2 rides with these wheels. So, my first ride is one of my favorite loops, about 19.3 miles, about 2,500 feet of climbing. My previous best for the year on this ride was an hour 19:02. Average speed of 14.7 miles an hour. On this route with the new wheels, this is their maiden voyage, I clocked a 1:16.26, averaging 15.5 miles an hour. So pretty staggering improvement. I mean, that's what, like over 2.5 minutes on that short route. Now, there's such a thing as new bike syndrome, where you automatically go faster on a new bike because you're excited about it and because you're frightened into riding harder by the looming specter of buyer's remorse, right? So does new bike syndrome extend to wheels? And it never has for me. So anecdotally, I wouldn't say so, but we can actually account for that to some extent by looking at the average heart rate across these 2 rides. I described my previous personal best and this more recent one. So for the ride that produced my former best time, my average heart rate was 131 beats per minute. And I was in zone 3, which is above 144 beats per minute, for 17 minutes, 49 seconds. Now, on the new wheels, my record-breaking ride was an average heart rate of just 1 beat per minute faster, 132 BPM, with only 15 minutes, 55 seconds in zone 3, so less time in zone 3. And there was no time in zone 4 or over for either ride. So in other words, the level of effort was comparable one ride to the next. So the difference in speed really was the frickin' wheels. I mean, they actually made me faster. Now, I can't base this conclusion that they're faster on a single ride, obviously, but the next ride corroborated it. It's a bit shorter, 16.7 miles, with just over 2,000 feet of climbing. And I beat my 2020 PR, which had been an hour, 7 minutes, 43 seconds. I beat that handily, finishing the ride in just 1 hour, 4 minutes, 45 seconds. So almost 3 minutes faster, 15.5 miles per hour versus 14.8. And it's consistent. This year, I've done one or another of those loops 17 times on the old wheels, and I never averaged above 15 miles an hour. I never actually reached that 15 mile per hour barrier, as I like to think of it. The new wheels, I've broken the 15 mile per hour average speed barrier all 3 times in the longer loop, plus the 1 time in the shorter loop. I'm 4 for 4 with the new wheels. So it's very consistent. Now, moreover, when you look at my longer rides that have more flat sections, where I'm going to have an average speed that's a bit higher, my highest average speed for the year thus far was 16.3 miles an hour on the old wheels. That was a 33-mile ride with 2,900 feet of climbing. On the new wheels, yesterday, I averaged 17.6 miles an hour on a 39.4-mile ride with 3,300 feet of climbing. That is an 8% improvement. I mean, that is significant. Now, reason number 4. The new wheels will actually make you ride harder. So here, I got to confess that comparing my average heart rate across rides is kind of specious, right? I mean, it's a little slippery because average can mean so many different things. I mean, after all, the average human has 1 breast and 1 testicle. Coasting on downhills is going to lower the average heart rate figure pretty serious. I mean, it's gonna be inconsistent. A lot can go into your average heart rate over an entire ride. And meanwhile, when I look at some of my climbs pretty closely, I look at the lap times and the heart rates over them, etc. It's clear I've been going harder lately. So on the old wheels, my PR for Pinehurst Road, for the really steep part after this first major switchback, if you're a local reader who knows these rides, it was about an 8 minutes and 13 seconds. And with the new wheels yesterday, I managed a much better 7 minutes, 39 seconds, way faster. But my average heart rate over the slower ascent was only 140 beats per minute, whereas yesterday my average for the climb was 148 beats per minute. And across the whole ride, where I got that new PR for average speed, I did average a higher heart rate of 133 yesterday versus 122 for the other ride. So you're wondering, does this deconstruct my whole argument, suggesting that that greater effort, not greater efficiency, explains the improvement in speed? So first of all, no, the difference is too great and it's too consistent. And I do have that pair of rides where the heart rate was almost the same, and I was a lot faster on the new wheels. But second, it kind of doesn't really matter if I could have gone as fast or as hard on the old wheels. I mean, the fact is I didn't. I'm going faster and harder now, clearly. So when better equipment puts better performance within our reach, we're much more likely to stretch ourselves. And the last thing I want to say on this is there's also the matter of momentum. The parts of my rides that aren't big climbs or descents are still lumpy. And with the new wheels, I find myself carrying more speed from a downhill into the next uphill, such that if I go a bit harder, I can stay in the big chain ring for longer stretches. And in fact, there's a section on my daily ride from Summit Reservoir to Inspiration Point where I used to have to go down to the small chain ring a fair bit of the time, and I no longer do. So this is the section I'm talking about. Who am I kidding? You can't see that map very clearly from here. But anyway, the point being, Google Maps will tell you that it takes 23 minutes to ride a bike along that route, which is about 3.5 miles and cumulative elevation gain of, 250 feet or something. Google Maps says it'll take 23 minutes. With my old wheels, I did as well as 12:58. My new PR with the Aero wheels is 11:35, and I'm not having to shift into that embarrassing, coddling little ring anymore. So, reason number 5 for buying the new wheels is COVID-19. And, let's face it, if we're smart during this pandemic, then we're going to be riding by ourselves for the foreseeable future with nobody to draft. This is important stuff. We all know that if we ride in a group and we draft, our chance of infection goes way up. So this is kind of the new normal right here. And so we got to be as aerodynamic. We got to be riding by ourselves. And that means facing the wind by ourselves. And if we're not aerodynamic enough, we're going to get too frustrated to continue. I don't know if you can even hear me. Well, I think I've made my point. We're riding by ourselves. We're facing the wind all on our own. I'm going to be doing Mount Diablo rides here, all on my own, nobody to draft. And if I don't have, as much aerodynamic benefit as I can get from my equipment, then I'm going to get too frustrated to continue, meaning I'm going to give up cycling, and that just launches a downward slide into sloth and depression. Or maybe, without aerodynamic benefits from modern equipment, we'd be unable to resist drafting others, meaning we're one snot rocket away from bringing the coronavirus home to our families and killing them all. And, meanwhile, returning to the fiscal discussion I started earlier, during shelter in place, it's harder to spend money. My credit card bill hasn't been this low in years. And for the first time in forever, all the transactions fit on one page. Why not splurge a little? Besides, there's a good chance we'll all be dead soon, along with our would-be heirs. So what's the point in saving? It's time to buy. Buy. All right, we're going to do a quick non-interactive Q&A. I've anticipated your questions, and I'm going to answer them here. Question 1. Why not just get a whole new bike, since there have been so many improvements in road bike technology, such as disc brakes? Answer. How can you even contemplate such a major purchase when the global economy is melting the fuck down? I can't believe you're thinking so irresponsibly. Besides, better brakes will not make you go faster. Aren't we slowing down enough as we head into middle age? Question. Why wouldn't I upgrade my mountain bike wheels instead, maybe with some sweet carbon rims? Here's the thing. With the vast hordes of hikers that I'm seeing in the regional parks, I don't consider mountain bike riding safe whatsoever right now, or even fun. I mean, you're on a single track. How are you supposed to socially distance? I can't imagine spending money on a bike that I might not even get to ride in the foreseeable future. Question. What about crosswinds? What do you mean crosswinds? What the hell are you even talking about? Listen to this guy. Crosswinds. Question. In your previous post about selecting bike wheels, you touted the benefits of wider rims and claimed that the heads really do ride better and the ride is really plush. Now you're pushing Dura-Ace wheels with narrower rims. What gives? You know what else is really plush? Your bed. Or we could ride around on beach cruisers. Look, we're heading toward old age, infirmity, and death. This isn't the time to make ourselves comfortable. To paraphrase the poet Andrew Marvell, the grave's a fine and restful place, but no one there is fit to race. And our last question. You seem to assume that all your readers are still gainfully employed right now, even though unemployment in the U.S. is now at historic levels with more than 20 million people out of work. How can you callously pretend we're all in a position to spend money on non-essentials? Answer. Just buy the damn wheels.